Ashley Mailloux, David Aragona here with Daily Racing Form, taking a look at the Thursday race of the day, which is going to come north of the border at Woodbine. But it's a holiday weekend here in the U.S., which means plenty of racing action coast to coast. So we do have a special sale here in the DRF shop, 15% off for Memorial Day. You can use the coupon code MEMD25 to get that offer. But mentioned we're going to go north of the border. It's not necessarily a holiday weekend up there, David, but it's a nice race. Race number 6 this Thursday, a field of 7, going 7/8 on the Tapeta, and a nice allowance optional claiming event.
Yeah, I know that Woodbine season is still sort of just getting underway, so we've got plenty of horses coming back off layoffs in this race, and never surprised when you see Mark Casse have 2 of the top contenders in a race at Woodbine.
No, not shocking at all. He sends up the 3 Candy Overload in here, as well as the 5 War Strategy, which I think there are things to like about both of them, but maybe they're slightly different in some ways, but both short prices, 2-1 on Candy Overload and the 5 War Strategy, 3-1 on the Morning Line. We'll move to the time form U.S. pace projection for this event. And looks like the outside runner might be ideally drawn in here, the 7 Pullen and OT, who was very speedy last time out, but that was going 5.5.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how aggressive they are since he is drawn in the outside post position. In theory, that would give the jockey a few more options to not have to be so aggressive coming out of the starting gate, just in case the number 5 War Strategy really wants to make the front end, because War Strategy did have success going to the lead in his last few starts of 2024. We'll see how aggressive he gets ridden coming back off the layoff.
We'll kick it off here with the number 1, Sky's Not Falling. This is one of the horses returning off a layoff, but a little bit of a different story. This horse has had 2 performances up at Woodbine over this surface, but the big thing is we haven't seen this one since the races in New York and the Mid-Atlantic, and they've been on the turf.
Yeah, he's switching back to the synthetic surface. I think there is some question about whether he's quite as good on synth as he is on the turf, where he's had most of his success. And he's kind of a funny horse with regard to distance, because he's had success going shorter than this, like 5.5. He's also been successful going nearly 9 furlongs, but he almost held on for that victory in the Maryland Million Turf 2 back. The big question I've got with him, Ashley, is that he bled in his last race. And you can kind of see it happen. He kind of pulled himself up at the end of that race. He's been off for a long time. You always kind of wonder how much that's going to take out of a horse if they're going to come back to form following that. So I'm going to kind of take the wait and see approach with this one.
The 2 Ironstone, this one for Willie Armada, gets blinkers off. Now, it does have that one race under the belt in 2025. They used the Thorncliffe as their sort of starting point for the season. And I don't know how you assess it. I'm not sure 5.5 is a distance that he necessarily wants.
Yeah, I felt like it was probably just a starting point for this horse who needs a little bit of pace ahead of him and probably needs a bit of more distance to really be most effective. My problem with him, Ashley, is that you watch a lot of his races, he breaks slowly just about every time, always finds himself towards the back of the pack. So he really needs the help to develop up front, and I'm not sure that's going to happen here.
The 3 Candy Overload, we'll take a look at one of his performances. Now, we're going to go back a couple, and we're actually going to go back to May of 2024 when he participated in the Thorncliffe. And for him, this resulted in a career best Beyer speed figure of 100. He actually broke towards mid-pack in this race and then gets up in time to draw past by half a length. And you know, the questions I have with him are, is he going to be ready to run off the layoff? But I think if we see a version of this Candy Overload that we saw back in May of last year, he could be a pretty pest in this field for sure, just based on the fractions that might be carved out early.
Yeah, he ran really well in this race, and the horse he fended off at the end, Flag of Honor, went on to do some nice things at Woodbine in the middle of last season, and even his most recent start in the Jacques Cartier, where he was beaten by that horse. I mean, he didn't run so badly in there, but obviously, as you said, went to the sidelines, coming off a long layoff. Mark Casse's layoff stats, when you kind of dive into them, they're better at Woodbine than they are other places, so he does get horses to come back and run well over this Tapeta surface, but still, at a short price, I wasn't sure that I wanted to necessarily take an underlaid value on him coming off that long break.
We will move to the 4 in this field, who is for Kevin Attard. I'm a Gambler, a horse that is similar to another runner in here, Ironstone. They used the Thorncliffe as the prep maybe to get the season started. Now, this one was 3rd, but, you know, when you look at the field, I think another aspect to talk about, David, is the fact that it was a strong outfield. Patches O'Houlihan, we know what he is. We know what he's able to do. And even the runner-up had a lot of success last year at Woodbine. I think, you know, what we saw was not his best, and I expect him to take a huge step forward.
Yeah, nobody was beating or getting close to Patches O'Houlihan on that occasion, but I'm a Gambler really didn't do himself any favors that day because he hopped up at the start, was off about 2 lengths slowly in that race, so was really behind the 8 ball right from the beginning. And then he was trying to make a move up the inside coming to the quarter pole, and a horse kind of came over into his path. He had to take up slightly. So there's an argument he maybe should have been second in that race, even though he was beaten a long way by the top two. I do expect him to take a step forward, second off the layoff. He had really good form at the end of last season. And his trainer, Kevin Attard, has gotten his Woodbine season off to a real strong start. He's winning at nearly 50%. So I wonder if that might play in the minds of bettors and this horse might ultimately go favored.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him go favored. The 5 war strategy looks to be part of the pace scenario. When we look at his performances, I guess my one knock on him is the record over this surface. He is 0 for 5. He's getting a lot of minor placings. And I also have to wonder a little bit about the distance, David. I don't know if 7 ace is necessarily going to be his strong suit.
Yeah, he's had success when he goes to the front, tries to hold on. We'll see if he can do so going the 7 furlong distance. He did run really well the last time we saw him in October of last year, where he was beaten by an old class horse, Artie Storm. He was coming off a long layoff, but that 99 buyer kind of really sticks out in War Strategy's past performances. And you kind of wonder where it came from because you go 3, 4 starts back in his career, and he looked like a horse that should be 20-1 in this race. So is he going to come back in that same form following a layoff? He did come off a similar layoff at the beginning of the 2024 season, was not nearly in top form by then. So I wonder if he's going to need a race.
The 6 Twin City, a big price on the morning line at 15-1. This one for Sue Steinman was third. Last time we saw this one all the way back in November. So the meet ends about a month later. They decided not to bring him back to the races. That was a race that I'm a Gambler participated in. And I'm not sure, if I necessarily love him or dislike him at 7 ace. I do think he's a handy horse. As we talked about some others in here, he can win at longer distances. I probably prefer him just a little bit going longer, but I wonder what the perfect situation for him is. I don't know if he's going to get the right setup.
Yeah, he's pretty consistent. Watching that last race, I didn't feel like he really had an excuse that was going to allow him to turn the tables on I'm a Gambler. And now he's coming off that layoff, and his trainer doesn't have the best stats coming off layoffs like this. So I wonder if he's going to need a start.
And then the 7 pulling an OT is going to round out the field. To take a look at his most recent performance back on opening weekend at Woodbine. It was a pretty good performance for this horse. Obviously had some races under the belt down at Gulfstream Park to set him up for this, but very speedy, went to the front easily, and David stays in front quite easily as well.
Yeah, this is a horse that showed a lot of talent early in his career and then went off form for a time, wasn't really running those top races in the end of 2023 and the 2024, but it kind of feels like he's come back around recently. And this most recent start is evidence of that. He was a dominant winner of this race. The runner-up in here came back to win next time, improving his buyer, I think, by 11 points. There are some other horses that were behind him in this race, like Old Chestnut, who's got plenty of buyers that were much higher going back. So I wonder if he beat a field that was a little bit stronger than the 82 buyer that he was assigned last time might suggest. And I even think his races 2 and 3 back at Gulfstream were pretty strong, albeit against some weaker competition when he won 3 back, but he held his own against some tough turf sprinters 2 back, and turf isn't even his preferred surface. So I think pulling an OT is coming into this race in great form, and I like the outside post for a horse with speed.
Good price on the morning line as well, 6-1. He went off heavily favored last time out. And it's worth noting, Sofia Vivas is going to pick up the mount. Pietro Moran goes to the Kevin Attard runner in here, but a lot I think has to do with barn size, right? And thinking about business for the rest of the meet. I think that was just more of a business move rather than anything else. So this is the Thursday race of the day. Don't forget free past performances on the website. And curious, David, to see what direction you go in. I don't know. There's not a ton of reliable horses in here, but there are horses that at least if you can go back maybe 2 or 3 starts, you can make a case for.
Yeah, it's hard to have a whole lot of confidence because you've got these horses coming off layoffs. I do think the number 4, I'm a Gambler, is kind of the horse to beat, and he's going to move forward second off the layoff. But I thought pulling an OT, the number 7, could be the right price as he steps up in class here, and is just in really good form, and I respect his early speed.
Yeah, we're both going to do the same thing here. We're going to try to beat the number 4, I'm a Gambler. When I was talking about the 3 Candy Overload, I kind of lost my words a little bit. I think he's a pesky type based on the performance that we saw 2 back. I hope that he gets the right setup here at the 7 ace distance, but to me, that race sort of stands out the way that he was able to do it, especially the speed figure as well. So 7-4-3-5 for David, 3-4-7-5 for me. This race on Thursday up at Woodbine, race number 6. They have a 7-race program. Good luck.